Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. If you missed the weekend, there were some pretty robust episodes. Go back and listen. I love this first joke from Jimmy Fallon. In the trailer for the new Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man visits Doctor Strange and asks him to turn back time. Then President Biden shows up and asks for the same thing. So good. Fallon. The reports on the origin of COVID were completed, and an unclassified version will soon be released to the public. And like everything with this pandemic, I'm sure Americans will fully accept the truth, and they'll put all conspiracy theories to rest. Yep, the unclassified report will come out in a few days, or sooner if Sony accidentally leaks it early like the Spider-Man trailer. Seth Meyers, President Biden encouraged Americans who've been waiting for the FDA to approve the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine to go out and get the shot. But I don't know, something tells me they're going to find a way to move the goalposts again. He then imitated an anti-vaxxer saying, sure, it's FDA approved, but is it farm to table, something that's suddenly very important to me? Corden, following the announcement that the FDA has approved the Pfizer vaccine, President Biden is now calling on companies in the private sector to adopt a shot mandate. If you ask me, this is just further proof of a giant conspiracy between the government and the corporate elites who infringe on Americans' God-given right to get infected by a deadly virus. Corden told a story involving Tom Cruise and a helicopter. Sure, why not? Corden recalled receiving a text from Tom Cruise this summer about meeting up in London. Corden took out his phone and read the message. Cruise asked where James Corden was staying and for how long, and James Corden said, I'm here until August. I'm staying in St. John's Wood. I'd love to see you. Corden then received a text from Tom Cruise that said, we can make that happen. Can I land my heli, H-E-L-I, in your yard? I mean, you can't even write helicopter or call it a copter. Heli? I'm not a copter aficionado. Is that what we call them? Helis? James Corden explained, I sent back 4 crying emojis because who can land a helicopter in a yard? Tom Cruise writes back, does that mean no? Corden realized that Tom Cruise was not joking and said, I'll measure it out, but my hunch is you can't land a helicopter in St. John's Wood. Tom Cruise said, you'd be surprised where I can land. From Yahoo, David Spade said, I would swish it around. What's he talking about? He's talking about would he come back to host The Bachelor again? Yahoo was like, can you walk me through your journey with The Bachelor? Spade, you're so funny because you say journey. That's like one of their favorite words. Yahoo, well, that's why I use the word. Spade, it's so hilarious. I think the Courtney Robertson season of The Bachelor in 2012, she was with Ben, and I thought it was so funny. I just watched the show and I did a parody on Funny or Die about it, that old site. And then Mike Fleiss called me and he thought it was funny. And I came and I talked to him. So we talked about that and we should do something about it one day. And then I kept watching. I just kept making fun of it on my Instagram. It's just fun to watch. One day he goes, do you want to get involved with The Bachelor? Because we're shaking things up. They were really in the beginning stages. I was going to say no. And then I go, maybe. So I went in and said, yeah, let's try Paradise. That makes the most sense to me because it's the least serious. I said, do you care if I'm like saying things like I do and just poking fun? The producer said, no, that's what we need. We need to change it. Just get something in there. Keep it fun again. Get people talking again. So I think it worked. They let me do what I wanted. They kept the stuff I wanted. I would say, can you keep that? And they said, yeah. And then I leave. Yahoo said, there's been a conversation about comedians in this age of cancel culture. Comedians being censored. What's your take on that? Spade said, it's very dicey. It's very tricky. You used to have to say anything to go as far as you could to push the envelope to get attention. People would be like, I like this guy. He's pushing it. And in comedy clubs, audiences really appreciate that. Now you say the one wrong move and you're canceled. It's a very tough world out there. I think all comedians have gotten together in a way to say we just have to keep doing what we were doing and the people that come to shows will appreciate it. But if you're an outsider that comes in and goes, oh, so offended, the intent is not to be mean. If the intent is to do it as a joke or a spin on something and it's mean to people, you're just making fun of that. I don't think it's horrible. I've been in the business for 20 years, and I hope comics are allowed to be comics. I really hope so. Now, I'm not a Bachelor watcher, but hopefully you know what this next question is about. Yahoo said, I have a very hard-hitting question for you. I have to ask about the black box in front of Kenny. There was a lot of conversation. Was he really naked on set? Sounds intriguing. Spade's answer, his wiener is square. It fit perfectly in that box. From Deadline, Comedy Central announced Alana Glazer presents Comedy on Earth NYC 2020-2021, an original one-hour comedy special which will premiere on September 10th. The special features a series of sets performed by various comedians, curated by director, producer, writer, and comedian Alana Glazer. Captures New York City in the darkest of times. Comics performing include P.D. De Abreu, Allison Levy, Larry Owens, and Sydney Washington. There were also appearances by Kristen Buckles, George Severus, Alex English, Marie Faustin, Josh Gondelman, Parker Kit Hill, Lacey Jaca, Kenise Mobley, Julia Shippett, and Jess Tom. So it sounds like Comedy on Earth is another good opportunity for you to sample a bunch of lesser-known comedians all at once, September 10th, 11 p.m. on Comedy Central. This is a follow-up to Alana Glazer Presents Tight 5, a 9-episode digital series that Glazer launched on Comedy Central's YouTube channel in April, for which she also curated sets. I need to catch up on that. The New York Times asked Tiffany Haddish, "Do you think God has a sense of humor?" Tiffany said, "God is the best comedian of all time. Just looking at the animals, God definitely has a sense of humor and a little crazy. I was just swimming with sharks, and I saw sharks having sex. That's when I knew God is not a woman. God might be a hermaphrodite or something. I mean, no, you're not allowed to use that word no more. God might be intersex." How do sharks have sex? It's very violent. It takes 2 sharks to take down 1 female shark because female sharks are bigger than male sharks. Their skin is thicker because the male sharks bite into their fins and flip them over. This is how you know God is a comedian. Male sharks have 2 penises. They're called claspers. They're pointy and not necessarily comfortable. I'm going to put it like that. The female shark, if she passes out, I'll remind you, this is the New York Times talking to Tiffany Haddish. What is going on here? The female shark, if she passes out, she stops breathing and he flips her over and they drag her along the coral reef. When he's done, if she doesn't hurry up and wake up and flip back over, then another shark can come and try to eat her and take advantage of her. You can always tell when a female shark has been mating because her back will be all scratched up. It's bad. I wanted to start a support group for them. Fascinating interview in the New York Times with Tiffany Haddish. Variety reports that Michelle Buteau will join Megan Mullally and some others in Untitled Movie. Untitled Movie follows an aspiring young artist named Paige, who's forced to join her high school track team. She uses it as an opportunity to pursue the girl she's been harboring a long-time crush on, but she soon finds herself falling for an unexpected teammate and discovers what real life feels like. The Guardian ranked the various folks participating in Strictly Come Dancing, the UK show. They said, "You'll remember that roughly 1 million years ago, Robert Webb took part in a dancing competition, did quite well, but then his heart packed in and he almost died, so he's unable to take part on Strictly. As such, his inclusion this year technically qualifies as a comeback, and even though he's bound to get dumped at some point, he should still count it as a lap of honor." Good luck, Robert Webb. The laugh button says one of our annual comedy festivals, SF Sketchfest, is coming back for its 20th year. Oh, I spoiled that on Saturday's podcast. I forgot I hadn't told you yet. Sometimes I write these before I record them. Who knew? Every year, Sketchfest features some of the best in all forms of comedy, including sketch, stand-up, alternative comedy, music, improv, films, cast reunions, tributes, live podcasts, storytelling, panels, and more. After a year off live shows due to the pandemic, the festival is coming back to the San Francisco area. Dates are January 7th to the 23rd. I had the pleasure of attending Sketchfest one time, and it is awesome. If you're on the West Coast, make your way to SF Sketchfest. Right now, the fest is open for submissions for 2022. They're currently looking for stand-up comedians, improv/sketch groups, solo shows, podcasts, hey buddy, musical comedy acts, self-produced short comedic plays, and alternative comedy acts. Should I submit myself? I could be like, hey, I could sit in the corner and read some wire copy. And we could sell tickets, and people could be like, wow, he stumbles a lot when he doesn't clean up the edits, doesn't he? Today's Daily Comedy News is brought to you by Travel is Back. That is my casual travel podcast where every week I tell you about a place I've been and what I like to do there. This week, I don't know. I haven't recorded it yet, but I'm sure it's awesome. I think I might do Cleveland. Travel is Back, wherever you get your shows. From Chortle, Undercover Cop series to air next year. BBC One has ordered a new comedy thriller about undercover police officers. Sounds like a really original idea. Well, Black Ops tells the story of Dom and Kay, who joined the Met Police in the hope of cleaning up their community, but who are unwillingly thrust into the murky world of deep cover infiltration as they become part of a powerful criminal enterprise. But the official blurb says it quickly becomes more of a fiasco than Donnie Brasco. Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad. From the British Comedy Guide, Amazon's behind-the-scenes stand-up showcase Backstage with Katherine Ryan has announced its lineup. Here is the lineup. Frankie, Boyle, Jimmy Carr, who I love, Sarah Millican, Joe Brand, Sara Pascoe, Tom Allen, Sue Perkins, Nish Kumar, Josh Dommett, Russell Kane, Rob Beckett, and Rosie Jones. They'll all be on the show, coming to Amazon Prime next year. working in a lot of different names lately on Daily Comedy News. I like it. From Chortle, another Edinburgh Fringe comedy review. This one, Daphna Baram's Unmuted. Fasten your seatbelts for this next paragraph. There's a compelling tale at the heart of Daphna Baram's show about her hardcore Israeli mother getting injured in the Six-Day War, which the comedian contrasts with her relatively cozy life in London. Her mom served in the army, was arrested by those same troops, worked as a lawyer representing terror suspects, and also had journalism and comedy careers. Whenever we come away from Mom's story and that central relationship, the story takes a dip. A minor inconvenience about a fridge delivery is presumably included for its juxtaposition with more life or death concerns in Israel, but it amounts to little and barely seemed worth interrupting a gripping story for. Baram insists Brits love such mundanities, but it's a bit of a stretch. Similarly, talk of football rivalries, her menopause, and COVID curtain twitchers seems slight, and sharing her biggest fear of being found dead in her flat only after her body had decomposed is told in yucky graphic detail. 3 stars. Also from Chortle, the creators of People Just Do Nothing, which is a great show. I'm doing this from memory. I think that's on Netflix. I like it. Watch it. They say comedy is still dominated by white middle-class people. Asim Chowdhury says the problem runs across the media with white journalists unable to understand his character. Tell the Radio Times, what was so weird was these white journalists early on telling me that doing his character's accent was racist. He was based on my dad. How can they think I'm mocking the culture? I am the culture. I just don't think they'd actually met anyone from that culture before. For some reason, in our industry, all you see is white middle-class people. Co-star Alan Mustafa added, you shouldn't have to come from Oxford or Cambridge to be funny, but it's still occurring in the industry a lot of ways. It's changing, but it needs to change a lot more. Not just class, but ethnicity and gender. There's still not enough behind the camera. They were out promoting the new movie, People Just Do Nothing, big in Japan. And that is your comedy news for today. Follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram at Daily Comedy News, buymeacoffee.com/Daily Comedy News. See you tomorrow.